che possano accompagnare il lavoro delle aziende e fare da moltiplicatore. Sono per questo felice di annunciare il contributo determinante dell'Italia alla nascita di un nuovo fondo equity a livello europeo. E il messaggio che vogliamo lanciare oggi agli imprenditori è semplice: non abbiate paura di investire, di costruire, di ricostruire in Ucraina, perché investire sulla ricostruzione dell'Ucraina non è un azzardo, è invece un investimento in una nazione che ha dimostrato più resilienza di qualsiasi altra, ma è anche un investimento sulla pace, sulla crescita economica dell'Europa intera, sulla sicurezza dei nostri cittadini. E sappiate che saremo al vostro fianco insieme alle istituzioni finanziarie, alle realtà come SACE, Simest, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, che sostengono l'internazionalizzazione delle imprese, per mettervi nelle condizioni migliori per poter operare, non solo sul fronte delle assicurazioni che sono necessarie per chi investe contro i rischi derivanti dal conflitto, ma anche per esplorare nuove opportunità in ambiti strategici, dall'agroindustria fino alla meccanica avanzata, all'industria chimica, ai trasporti. Investire in Ucraina è un investimento su noi stessi, perché piaccia o no quello che accade in Ucraina riguarda ciascuno di noi. Penso che per questo dobbiamo essere orgogliosi del risultato che oggi raggiungiamo tutti insieme: nazioni, organizzazioni internazionali, istituzioni finanziarie, autorità locali, settore imprenditoriale, società civile. Insieme abbiamo assunto impegni con la conferenza di oggi per oltre 10 miliardi di euro. Ma per ricostruire una nazione martoriata dalla guerra non bastano i soldi, gli ingegneri, gli architetti, gli operai. C'è bisogno di qualche cosa di più, e quel qualche cosa di più è il sentimento che il popolo ucraino più di tutti ha dimostrato di conoscere, che è l'amore di patria, l'amore per la libertà, la volontà di garantire ai propri figli un futuro di prosperità, di benessere. Senza l'amore di patria tutto quello che noi facciamo perde di senso. Non è un caso che l'Italia abbia scelto di occuparsi di alcuni dei simboli e dei luoghi che compongono il mosaico identitario della nazione ucraina. Quel luogo è Odessa e quei simboli sono la Cattedrale della Trasfigurazione, la Filarmonica, il Museo delle Belle Arti, gemme di un patrimonio culturale splendido che ci appartiene come europei e che come europei vogliamo proteggere perché possa essere consegnato a chi verrà dopo di noi. Caro Volodymyr, cara Olena, cari colleghi, il cammino della ricostruzione non sarà un cammino facile, sarà certo un cammino pieno di insidie, ma è anche un cammino che porta con sé incredibili opportunità. E gli italiani sanno, forse meglio di chiunque altro, sanno comunque molto bene quello di cui sto parlando, perché noi siamo quel popolo che sulle macerie della Seconda Guerra Mondiale ha costruito il miracolo economico degli anni '60. Anche la nostra allora era una nazione distrutta che affrontava difficoltà enormi, eppure ce l'ha fatta, si è rialzata con determinazione, con orgoglio, con operosità, è diventata la potenza economica e industriale che oggi tutti conoscono. E mi piace pensare che questa conferenza possa essere il punto di partenza per il miracolo economico dell'Ucraina, e costruiremo quel miracolo insieme, per voi, per noi, perché ogni scuola, ogni ospedale, ogni campanile che ricostruiremo sarà un pezzo di noi stessi che avremo ricostruito, un pezzo d'Europa che riconsegneremo alla storia e ai nostri figli. Vi ringrazio e buona conferenza.
It is now our privilege to welcome His Excellency Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Dear friends, dear Georgia, thank you very much for your kind words, very strong words, for your support. Thank you for warmly hosting this important meeting for Ukraine, for Ukrainians. Dear Ursula, Antonio, Friedrich, Peter, Donald, Eddie, Pedro, Dick, Rosen, Petri, Christian, Kyriakos, Miloiko, all the leaders and all the participants of the conference and all who stand with Ukraine today. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your attention to Ukraine, to the needs of our people, first of all, and to our shared responsibility to do everything necessary to protect life. Russia has also prepared for this meeting. Just last night they launched another massive attack on Ukraine, mainly targeting our capital, Kyiv. The attack involved Russian, Iranian Shahed drones. These drones have been heavily upgraded to cause more destruction and to be harder to shoot down. Ukrainians now face attacks by hundreds of these drones every single night. And this is pure terrorism. The night before last, they launched over 700 drones and missiles. Last night, nearly 400. And they tried to do this as often as possible. And this is exactly what Putin wants, for our people to suffer, to flee Ukraine, and for homes, schools, for life itself to be destroyed everywhere, not just near the front lines. Remember, just a year ago, many people thought Russia wanted real peace, real talks, and a ceasefire. Moscow was sending those signals, and it was all part of their propaganda, trying to say that Ukraine didn't want peace. But we said back then there must be pressure on Russia because it was not preparing for peace. And now everyone sees that Putin has rejected every peace proposal and is escalating the violence. Just last night, in Kyiv alone, sadly, 2 people were killed and 16 were injured. A medical lab was completely destroyed, residential buildings, a shopping center, a veterinary clinic, and basic city infrastructure were all damaged. And that was with many of the drones and missiles being shut down. Still, some made it through. And this is what we must focus on first. We must stop Russian drones and missiles. And this means more air defense supplies and more investments in interceptor drones, air defense systems, and of course missiles. And I urge all our partners, increase your investments. When Russia increases its attacks, we cannot have a shortage of funding for drone production. More than 30 countries and hundreds of companies are represented at the conference today. And we must reach a point where Ukraine's air defense and drone sector is supported by over 30 countries and backed by hundreds of companies, not only from Ukraine, but also from Europe, the United States, and beyond. Please speak to our team for details. Ukraine has some of the world's most advanced drone technologies for both offensive and defensive, and we are ready to share this expertise and these technologies with our partners. Ukraine needs investment, you need skills, you need technology, and everything we are building now to protect Ukraine will also help protect you. Secondly, I'm grateful to all countries that are part of the coalition supporting Ukraine's defense. We've created effective, really effective coalitions, effective drone coalition, and you can see how drones help us hold the life, hold frontline and strike Russian military infrastructure deep inside Russia. We also have a strong aviation coalition. Thank you to all its members. Ukraine has received and is building up modern combat aviation. This is a huge, huge help. Thank you. Thank you, partners. And we've done it in record time. No other country has switched from Soviet aircraft to F-16s and Mirages this quickly. Thank you to everyone who helped. And I also want to highlight the coalition to return our Ukrainian children. Children abducted by Russia. And this is a global effort involving countries from Italy to Canada, and thank you to each one. Just yesterday, I spoke with Pope Leo about how the Vatican can support this work, and it already is. Today, I'll discuss this with Georgia and other leaders as well, and we must explore every possible way to bring our children back home to their families, to Ukraine, so they don't forget who they are. And where they come from, and so they are not used against Ukraine in war or sabotage when they grow up. This is very serious threat, and we must stand against it together. Just like these coalitions are working, we now need to build a coalition for recovery. Let this be the moment we start it. We know what Russia has destroyed, and we know what it will take to rebuild Ukraine, Ukrainian people, our lives. A systematic approach is needed, a coalition with clear leadership, countries and companies that can lead and bring others with them. And we also need a clear recovery plan. Think of the role the Marshall Plan played in rebuilding and transforming Europe. That's why Europe has enjoyed peace and economic growth for so many decades. And now we have real opportunity to spark a new wave of progress. We need a Marshall Plan style approach, and we should develop it together. Rebuilding Ukraine is not just about our country. It's also about your countries, your companies, your technology, your jobs. The way we rebuild our country can also modernize your infrastructure and industries. And I ask you to support the Recovery Coalition and help define specific financing mechanisms. We must clearly agree that frozen Russian assets should go toward Ukraine's recovery. Not only the income from these assets, but the assets themselves must be used and much more actively than they are now to help save lives. And we also need a clear system for reconstruction, a special recovery fund, and financing at different levels for Ukraine's national budget and for local communities. And we are very, very open to working with any business that can support our strengths, production, logistics, and of course, rebuilding. And let me emphasize one more thing. In this joint recovery project, we will only welcome true partners, those who are not helping Russia continuing this war. Only friends are invited to be a part of Ukraine's economic and technological recovery. And one last thing. We are already preparing for the next winter. And we've already gone through 3 winters during this full-scale war. And of course, first of all, thank you to everyone who helped us then. Thank you. And we need to keep working together to get through the next winter as well. And this can only be done as a shared task. And let's use this conference to move forward with that. I thank Norway for already, by the way, supporting us. Thank you to the Netherlands for your help. Thanks Germany. Thanks Ursula, Antonio. Thanks so much for the EU's continued support in helping Ukraine face energy challenges, real challenges. And we must keep making sure our people are protected. I also thank Italy, more than 500 companies, Georgia, thank you so much, and to your team. More than 500 companies are represented here at the conference. Around 200 agreements are ready to be signed with a total value of over 10 billion euros. All of these must be fully implemented. And please, let's also focus on energy. Putin has only 2 real allies: terror and winter, and we must respond to both. Thank you to everyone who is helping, and let today's meetings bring real results that matter to people and are visible in their lives. And every day, all of us must stay focused. All of us must keep up the pressure on Russia. All of us must keep working for defense so that we can bring a real ceasefire as soon as possible, that our drones go to our shared arsenals, that our technologies serve recovery and real life, that we create and start implementing a reliable recovery plan, that our children and our people return home to Ukraine. Let's do everything we can. Let's do everything we can for real peace as soon as possible. Just peace. Slava Ukraini!
We now welcome Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission.
Prime Minister, dear Georgia, President Zelensky, dear Volodymyr, dearest Olena, what a pleasure that you came along too. Thank you very much for being here. Fellow leaders, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I remember very well the first Ukraine Recovery Conference 3 years ago. It was just a few months after Russia unleashed destruction and bloodshed on a scale not seen since the Second World War. I remember the pain of the Ukrainian people. But even more vividly, I remember just how quickly they picked themselves up and began to rebuild. In the liberated towns of Irpin and Bucha, and with restored homes, schools, and hospitals. And Europe has been there at your side from day one on, and Europe will be at your side as long as it takes. Today, we gather here in this eternal city to show our enduring commitment to Ukraine. Our resolve is unflinching, our support unwavering, because we will always be at Ukraine's side, and you can count on us. Now more than ever, Ukraine can count on Europe. Our solidarity continues on all fronts, militarily, financially, and politically. And let me start with the military side. Ukraine's military has done what many said was impossible. They reached holding back the Russians and crippling their navy and their bomber fleet. This is impressive. Ukraine is the frontier of military innovation. But Russia's arms race continues. This is a war from Russia of resources and competing defense systems, as much as it is a war of values. So we must continue to invest in Ukraine's defense and tech primacy. Our Defense Readiness 2030 plan will be key. It will make available the necessary resources and fiscal space to deliver a surge in military capabilities. And it will boost investment in Ukraine's defense industry. In addition, supporting Ukraine will also allow member states to reach their NATO target of 3.5 plus 1.5% of GDP. All told, over 800 billion euros can be mobilized, so there is sufficient finance. But we also need to organize to ensure that the needs of the member states and Ukraine can be matched. And this is why we will be working through the SAFE instrument to create a mechanism to bring this together. As you said, Volodymyr, Ukraine has cutting-edge weapon systems, and Ukraine can deliver really fast and at low cost. This is precisely what we need in the European Union. But as you said, Volodymyr, Ukraine's defense industry is only operating at 60% of capacity. Now, our member states can take their SAFE loans and procure directly from Ukraine's defense industry. For our member states, it's high quality, fast and cheap. For Ukraine, it's both crucial revenues, but also the opportunity to strengthen its defense industrial base. To my second point, since the full-scale invasion, Europe has been and will stay Ukraine's largest donor, with almost 165 billion euros of support. And this year alone, we will cover 84% of external financing needed. As part of this support, I can announce €1 billion payment in macro-financial support, dear Volodymyr. I can also announce a payment of more than €3 billion from the Ukraine facility. And this guarantees and grants that we are signing here today, you said it, Georgia, and you said it, Volodymyr, it's outstanding. They are set to unlock €10 billion in investment for growth, recovery, and reconstruction of Ukraine. And we will ensure that Ukraine is supported until 2028 and beyond, when the new European budget kicks in. The new partnership with Ukraine will also play a key role in boosting private sector investment. That will be critical to reconstruction. And we will be able to build on strong foundations. Volodymyr, I listened very carefully. You said we need a special reconstruction fund. I am particularly pleased to announce today the European Flagship Fund for the Reconstruction of Ukraine, the largest equity fund globally to support reconstruction. It will, together with the private sector, kickstart investment in energy, transport, critical raw materials, dual-use industries. We are literally taking a stake in Ukraine's future by leveraging public money to bring large-scale private sector's investments and help the rebuild of the country. And I'm particularly pleased, and I think from the bottom of my heart, that we are building this together with Italy, Germany, France, Poland, and the European Investment Bank. Thank you so much for your commitment. And I trust others will be eager to join. The people of Ukraine are ready to drive their country's economy into the future. The time to invest is now. Finally, on political support. Under relentless fire, Ukraine is passing reform after reform. That's impressive. Ukraine stands ready to proceed with the next step on the accession path. Ukraine is delivering on its reforms. Now we must too, because the accession process is based on merits, and Ukraine merits moving forward. The Commission is very clear. Ukraine is ready to open Cluster 1, the fundamentals cluster. Now we have to act to move forward for millions of Ukrainians, soldiers, teachers, doctors, farmers, you name it, for Ukrainians from all walks of life. And for them, the future has two flags: the flags of Ukraine and the flags of Europe. This recovery conference is all about bringing Ukraine and its future to Europe. And Ukraine's future is in Europe. Let's make it happen together. Slava Ukraini, long live Europe.
Please welcome now His Excellency Friedrich Merz, Federal Chancellor of Germany.
Dear Prime Minister, dear Georgia, dear Volodymyr, dear Elena, Excellencies, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, friends of Ukraine. History knows many different examples of post-war reconstruction. One of the most successful was the recovery of Western Europe, and particularly of my country, Germany, after World War II. People still remember the so-called Wirtschaftswunder, the miracle of our economy. I don't mean to draw any misleading historical comparisons, but some of the recipes that were applied back then can still serve us when we focus at Ukraine's recovery today. The first one is, to rebuild a war-torn economy, it takes strong partners and international support. and Ukraine has strong international partners, all of us gathered here today. Today, Ukraine has dozens of partners around the entire world. The European Union,